Unsticking chainsaws while cutting large trees. William Hovey Smith, 2022. This is Hovey Smith, the Backyard Sportsman. We have arrived what I previously called the main event, and that is taking down this tree off this road. It actually fell late last year, and now another tree has fallen on the other side of it. So I'm going to go ahead and work this thing down. And I've got some help coming later in the week to enable me to move the pieces now that I can cut them. So the first thing we're going to try to do is to cut this part free here, let it drop to the ground, and get the hole worked as low as we possibly can before we start working on the other parts of it. This is going to be a complicated cut. There is some rotted timber towards the core of that branch, and supporting it sort of a buttress underneath. So I'm going to attempt to cut that buttress underneath out first, and then tackle the more sound pieces of wood that are on this and the other side, and see how the piece moves. I managed one cut from one side. Now I'm going to go over to the other side of the tree. Stuck my saw. Okay. Now ordinarily a wedge could free your saw blade like this. Because that wood back against the trunk is so splintered, it will not. So what do you do? Well, it's actually the teeth of the saw that are caught against the wood, not so much the bar itself. So if I take off the chainsaw mechanism, that is the bulk of the chainsaw, and just leave the bar, I think I'll be able to get the bar out of there, even though the chain might be tightly stuck. So that's the remedy we're going to try. I've loosened the bar tightening screw, and so now the side plate can wiggle off, I believe. There we go, like yay. Beware, because the engine is hot. Okay, we've got the chain off the sprocket, so we recovered the saw. Clean those off. Now, let's see if we can get the bar out. Yeah, and we have the bar. So, that much done. Can we extract the chain now? Not really. So, go back to the house, sharpen and put a new chain on, and we will resume. I returned with the chainsaw with this new chain, so we're ready to proceed. Now that's still suspended more or less a foot above the ground. Now I did drop it some inches, say 6 or so. But that's a touchy bit of cutting right there. And I think if I go ahead and start working the tops on the ground, the tree will shift enough so that it will actually rotate off that trunk where it's sort of just bearing its pressure that's holding it there more than anything else, I think. So we're going to go and start gingerly and carefully taking off some of those tops on the end and see if we can avoid getting crushed like a beetle. I'm going to cut this small top out of the road and then go ahead and move on this side where this limb is bearing on the ground and then cut up. And when I do, the tree is going to start to shift, and when it does, I think it'll probably come off the stump. Instead of tree cutting, this is morphing into a lesson on how to get chainsaws unstuck. Well, okay, we take what we can get. And as you can see, this time it's not the chain that's stuck, it really is the bar. That limb is under pressure. And as I was cutting, it started to close and I reacted too slow and I couldn't get the chainsaw out in time, and so it is pretty well crimped it there. So I'm going to take an axe and hatchet and see if I can work the blade out of there without damaging everything. So we shall proceed with that for a time. But in the meantime, I've cleared a workspace, trimmed all the branches around, so I can get a good open swing and actually see what I'm doing without getting the axe all caught up with all kinds of small limbs. So that much has been accomplished, and we'll be back with you in a while. By carefully starting the cut well away from the saw, you see with the axe I've started to expose the chain and much of the bar that was caught. So another couple of chops will probably do it, although those are famous last words. And the saw moved. Okay, a few of the teeth are still caught. There we go. Saw is free. And I never did touch either the blade or the bar, so yeah, good deal there. I'm going to cut a branch on the other side that's suspended in some trees, and we should see some action. The tree, if I predict right, should come down a bit and move in this direction. Well, that did not happen, but one useful thing did. Now this limb is suspended, and I can go ahead and cut it off the main trunk. Well, that's one good sized limb off. Yeah, that's the first major limb that we've trimmed up and got ready to haul away. We have many more to go. Well, end of day one, guys. I've been at it for, nearly 7 hours now. And we made progress. We got the butt of the tree down on the ground, which was good. And we have 4 supporting limbs cut and free now. And we did recover our chain, in case you wondered. And tomorrow we will resume. And the reason I'm quitting is I'm just getting tired. And tired people make mistakes. And that's when it's time to quit, guys. So we're going to go home and have lunch. I haven't had lunch yet. And come at it again tomorrow. Or maybe the next day. Whenever. But we're going to get it done. And we'll have a friend coming midweek sometimes to help me haul and move these heavy trunk sections, which I don't really want to tackle by myself. That's just a little bit too much. It is day 2, and we're still removing limbs that are supporting the trunk, either because they're hung up in trees or resting on the ground. Now you see a limb that's coming off this trunk, and it has bent over a small oak tree. Now one could shimmy up the trunk and cut it right there. And if you did it, there's a possibility that that limb would catapult back and knock you off the tree. Not good. So we're going to go ahead and cut that other tree first, let it fall, and then tackle the other limbs. Well, we got chainsaw stuck again. Remedy 1 is on that first cut, lowers to the ground. That's actually cut free. It's only friction that's holding that. If I can knock that free with an axe, then the limb will fall. The tops are still sort of half-ass hung up in the trees on the other side. So then it should swing sort of like a pendulum and loosen and drop the saw. It did drop, and our saw is loosened and recovered. The next thing I'm going to try to do is to pull the remainder of this tree down flat in the roadway so that I can saw it up more easily. Golf carts are not tractors, and they're not really designed for this sort of stuff, but I bet the forward gears are more rugged than the rear ones. So we're going to try a little pull on this, and if it works, fine. If it doesn't, I'll go back and get my lawn tractor, which is probably more suitable for this type of thing. Well, the rope broke, but indeed we did get it moved some. Well, that did put this live tree in a better position to cut. But you can see why it stopped. It got hung up in those twisty branches up there. But now I can get more easily at more of it. By trimming off another limb, I've opened another pull pathway actually through the branches of this tree, and that way I'll be able to extract the remainder of this top. It's not too tightly held, so should be able to pull it through and get it down horizontal to the ground. Of course, these are famous last words. We shall see. Well, if all goes well, that top should be drug through the fork and laid out very nicely so I can chop it up. Well, it didn't get picked up through the fork, but it did get it lower. Okay, I can work with that. We can't get it in one pull, we'll get it in two. Now on Tally-Ho 2, we should have no problems pulling it down. And we have succeeded. That top is a nasty bunch of stuff to cut, but yeah, you know, now that we can handle and get out of the way. There was a limb with two branches over here, and when I cut it, that lowered the tree another perhaps 2 inches closer to the ground. Now, a lot of the tree is being supported by this one branch. So I'm going to cut it, and I'm going to cut it fairly high up. And have to be real careful not to bind the saw in this cut because there's a lot of pressure on this limb. Getting me a V-notch out. That was the desired result. And now this limb that you wanted to see me climb up like a monkey and cut can be easily cut from the ground. another branch here that is buried. I'm going to try to cut those small, and I'm going to try to cut it there at the fork, those two. And if I'm successful, that probably will drop the tree another few inches, I think. This is Hovey Smith, the Backyard Sportsman, reminding you to hunt what you eat and eat what you hunt. Be legal, be ethical, be safe. Goodbye, God bless, and see you next time. I have a variety of outdoor books and also business books, including Create Your Own Job Security. In addition, I have e-books on muzzleloading subjects, and one of these is Hunting Big and Small Game with Muzzleloading Pistols. My newest business book is Make Your Own Job, Anytime, Anywhere, at any age, and this is suitable for anyone from teenagers to senior citizens. My novel, Until Death Do You Part, is recommended for movie production by the Hollywood Review and also was a quarter finalist at the Miami Film Festival. Make Your Own Job and Until Death Do You Part are available from Amazon.com and other sources worldwide as ebooks, softcovers, and audiobooks. Now, if you don't have anyone to give a book to, donate one to your local library in memory of a hunting buddy or someone you love. Donations may also be made to me at hoveysmith.com. Hunt what you eat and eat what you hunt. Goodbye and God bless.